And part of what I did was I researched the word amateur, which we always use as a pejorative, like that was an amateur move or he's such an amateur. But it
Yep.
actually comes from the Latin meaning one who loves, right? It wasn't always used that way. And I'm like, good God, if there's one thing we need more in this world, it's people who love.
Welcome to Late Bloomer Living, the podcast where we're all about shaking up our ideas about what it means to grow older. I'm Yvonne Marchese, your resident age agitator and play instigator. Around here, we believe midlife is the perfect time to play, to reinvent, and bloom like you mean it. Let's go. Have you ever stopped yourself from trying something new because you didn't want to look foolish or you didn't think you'd be any good at it? I have. Today's conversation, it might just change the way that you think about that. We are talking about dabbling and exploring, doing things for the sheer love of it, for the joy of it, and how curiosity, self-compassion, and play, yes, play, can actually lead to more meaningful confidence and joy in your life. My guest, Karen Walrond, literally wrote the book on this. She has a new book called In Defense of Dabbling, The Brilliance of Being a Total Amateur. I love that title. In that book, she explores what she calls the 7 attributes of intentional amateurism. She's also the author of Radiant Rebellion and the Lightmaker's Manifesto. And I love it. All of Karen's books, they weave together curiosity, mindfulness, self-compassion, all the things I love talking about here. And her 7 attributes of intentional amateurism offer a beautiful roadmap for joyful growth at any age. So stick around if you've ever felt like you're too old to start over or afraid to be a beginner again, because Karen's take on embracing our inner amateur will inspire you to loosen your grip, get curious, and rediscover the joy of not having to be great at everything. So without further ado, here's Karen Walrond. Hi, Karen. Thanks so much for being with me today.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm thrilled. I loved Radiant Rebellion,
Thank
and
you.
I learned so much about you and how much you and I actually have in common. I was like, oh
Nice.
my gosh. And In Defense of Dabbling feels like the perfect follow-up to that. So I wanted to ask you what inspired you to explore this idea?
Yeah, it's funny that you say it seems like because it really did sort of come out of writing Radiant Rebellion. I'm not a natural writer. Like I'm not a person who,
Really?
well, I mean, like I have a thesaurus nearby, and I really have to sort of spit everything out and then go back and edit. It's not
That
something
makes
that,
me feel so much better.
and so as
Mhm.
part of writing Radiant Rebellion, every now and then I'd get stuck or something like that. And what I would do was I'd go into my garage and take an old hula hoop that I have and just sort of hula hoop, like sort of the stuckness out, right? And occasionally I would, as I was hooping, I would take a selfie, and occasionally I would share that selfie on Instagram. And the responses were always sort of confounding to me because people would say things like, oh, I would look like an idiot if I tried to do that, or um, I'm too old to try to do that,
Mhm.
or oh, you're so brave, which I always thought was really funny because it was like the worst thing that's going to happen is the hoop's going to fall to the ground, right? And to be clear, I'm not a great hooper, right? Like I could keep the hoop up, but I'm not doing tricks or doing anything fancy. And so I was really interested in this, in what keeps people from doing things or trying things, especially things that have absolutely no repercussions if you fail at them, right? Like the fact is, if the hoop fell, so what, right? Like
Yeah.
that wasn't a big deal. And so I pitched it to my publisher. I was like, I really want to figure out this thing about being an amateur and why people have such a hard time with it. And part of what I did was I researched the word amateur, which we always use as a pejorative, like that was an amateur move or he's such an amateur. But it
Yep.
actually comes from the Latin meaning one who loves, right? It wasn't always used that way. And I'm like, good God, if there's one thing we need more in this world, it's people who love, right?
Yeah.
So I pitched it to her. And one of the things that she said, which I thought was so interesting, is when she shared it with the marketing department of my publisher, there was a young woman who was in that meeting, young Black woman, And she says, I love the idea of this book because as a young Black person, I'm so focused on my career and I'm trying so hard to make my parents proud and to like represent my race well that I feel like I've
Mm.
forgotten how to be interesting. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought, what a heartbreaking thing. So
It
that's really
is.
why I was like, okay, I've got to write this book and I've got to figure out like why, what is this obstacle that we keep facing when we say I couldn't possibly try doing that?
I feel like you're in my brain. Seriously, I read your work and I'm like, yeah, it's like you can say all the things that I've been thinking for years.
Mm.
I think that if we can let ourselves be beginners and suck at something, there's huge potential
You
there
know,
for
and
us.
it's not just the potential, which I think you're right. I think you're onto something. But I also really believe that going back, like creating a cadence of going back and doing the thing that you love all the time, not for profitability, not for perfectionism, not for productivity, but just to go back because you love it.
Yeah.
I literally have come to believe that that is a self-compassionate, self-transcendent way to live. So yes, you keep going back, you are going to get better at it. There's all this potential of the way that you can become really great at this thing, but even more importantly is the way that you like use this thing to rest and recreate, right? So that you can go back to your regular life and deal with all of these other things in your life that actually do matter, right? So if you're doing something that allows you to stay in touch with the 7 attributes of intentional amateurism, so allows you to practice curiosity and self-compassion and play and connection and all of these wonderful things, when you go back to your regular life, you can more easily access curiosity and self-compassion and play. And so I think that, the potential of being great at something is certainly there, but the potential of being great at yourself, I think, is even bigger.
Yeah. And you started this journey, I think, when you were writing Radiant Rebellion, right?
I mean, yes. And even though I'm not a person that really has a problem trying new things, I've been a scuba diver in the past and I've been a hula hooper and all that. So I'm not afraid of doing that. But I don't think I understood how much it is a practice of self-compassion to do it. I think my background is in engineering and law. I had a long corporate career. I'm a wife and a mother. And, those are all very serious things. And I think I looked at things like hula hooping and stuff like a way to sort of de-stress or a way to like just take my mind off of the writing so that I could go back to the writing. There wasn't as much of a play element of it. There wasn't so much of
Mm,
a I'm doing this just for me element. It was like
mm,
I got to do it so I can get back to my life. Um, certainly Radiant Rebellion, I was trying a bunch of different things as well, but things that were for myself. But the play part of it really wasn't as important to me, I think, until I wrote this new book. Like I'm not kidding when I tell you that I did not go into this book thinking I was going to write a book about self compassion. I thought I was going to be writing a book about hobbies and they're fun and you should do it. Um, but by the end of the book, I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. Like, really, everybody needs something like this, especially those of us for whom maybe yoga doesn't feel natural or meditation doesn't feel natural. Like, a lot of those benefits that feel sort of foreign to us, we can get by losing ourselves in an avocation that gives us those things like self-compassion and allows you to lose track of time and allows you to delight yourself in what you're able to do. It didn't even dawn on me that that was the book I was writing until I got to
that's
the end of it.
fascinating. That's
Yeah.
fascinating. I'm a believer. It's my deep personal inquiry right now is how to incorporate more play into my life and not just for the moments when I'm playing, like when I'm on my roller skates.
Yeah.
What I love about being on my roller skates, by the way, is how much focus it requires of
Right.
me. All of my thoughts, worries, anxiety about what's happening in the world, what's happening in life, whatever, it drops away because
Yep.
I am completely focused on the now, the moment. It's that feeling of being in the zone, you know?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
am just like, give me more. And how can I do it? How can I get that sense of playfulness when I'm working?
Yeah.
When I'm doing the grind type stuff that I have to do as a photographer. If I'm shooting a photography session with somebody, purely in the zone, play, I'm with
Yep.
the person, I'm having a good time. But when I have to send out contracts and
Yeah.
blah, blah, and I'm finding that the time I give myself to roller skate does give me that access point
Yeah. Yeah.
in the other times of my life, which is exactly what you've been saying.
Yeah, that's, I mean, I think that's, I love that you talked about both photography and roller skating sort of in the same breath. One of them is your profession and one of them is your play fashion, right? Like, right? Like that's the thing
I
that
love
you're,
that.
that you have for fun. And what I love about the fact that you've done both of those things, I don't know this for a fact, but as a photographer myself, and that's one of my play fashions, right?
Hmm.
It is a different thing when you are shooting just for yourself and when you are shooting for other people, right? And that's
True.
not to say that you can not have fun and all the things that you said, but when somebody else's opinion matters, it becomes a different thing, right?
Hmm.
And so, like for me, I could never make photography a profession, but writing, which was a hobby of mine, I have made into a profession. And so I don't want to ever suggest that the thing that's fun shouldn't become your job. I think sometimes that's exactly what you should do. But I would argue that if you do that, then you need another hobby, right? Like you need something
Yes.
where it's literally just for you. And what you just, how you describe roller skating, like when I wrote the book with these 7 attributes, I tried something new for each to explore each of the attributes. But the truth is that when you find that thing that you can't help but go back to, the reason that you have so much fun at it is it because it allows you to play with more than just one of those attributes. So like what you just said about roller skating, you said there was play. Well, that's one of the attributes. I imagine that there has to be self-compassion in it, right? Maybe it's something that you're not as good at it as you were when you were a little girl, and so you have to give yourself some grace, right?
Yes, when I
um
got back on these skates, like what was it, 3 years ago, two something years ago, I thought I was just going to get on my skates like I did when I was a kid and be like, whee!
and it
And
was fine.
I
And of
was
course
terrified.
you have to give yourself grace.
I had
The
months of the wobbles,
Of
to get
course.
past. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Mindfulness, what you just said about I can't focus on anything else. So it
Hmm.
allows you to do mindfulness as well. Maybe even a little stretch your comfort zone. Maybe you're going to try a new little trick this way, right? Like something that'll allow you to be a little bit daring, right? So maybe if it sounds like you skate not in a rink but out in the open, and so maybe you're accessing wonder and awe with your surroundings. So
Can
all
we
of
go
these
over the
different
seven
things.
attributes real quick? Just
Absolutely.
okay, cool.
Yeah. So the 7 attributes, and I'll just read them first, right?
Hmm.
Are curiosity, mindfulness, self-compassion, play, expansion of your comfort zone, connection, and wonder and awe. And what I love about these things, the reason I came up with them was because I was afraid that when I tried things, that I would fall into that perfectionist mindset. And if I was bad at it, then I wouldn't want to share it in a book because I'm like, okay, people are going to read it. I don't want to look bad. So I was like, no, that's the point, right? Like if I look bad, I need to share that. And so if I can stay tethered to these things, then the perfectionism would fall away because it's not about being perfect at it. It's about staying in curiosity or staying in
Yeah,
mindfulness. So
yeah.
that's why I did. So curiosity is about something that really just you're interested in learning more about, but it's also being curious about yourself as you go through learning it. And like, why am I so elated when I was able to do this very simple thing? Or why am I so crushed if it didn't work out? And there's no reason, I'm not getting paid for this. Like, it's not like, what is that about? And getting curious about yourself.
Hmm.
Mindfulness is what you're saying. Total focus allows you to kind of let the world fall away. Maybe even because you have to, because you've got to focus on this thing that's right in front of you. Self-compassion, for this one, I actually returned to playing the piano, being able to like doing something that I used to do really well. And it had been decades, and I knew I wasn't going to be good at it. And how could I access grace as I'm going through it and not being as perfect at it as I thought? Play, again, it's another one of those you lose track of time. It's just so much fun that you're just losing track of time. Expansion of your comfort zone is really interesting. It's not about going outside of your comfort zone because I believe that the world is terrifying enough. There's no reason to terrify yourself in this, but sort of being in your comfort zone, but just playing with the edges of it. Like, what happens if I try a little bit more? Sort of like daring yourself in a very gentle way. Like, how could I do more? Um, Connection, doing something with someone else, right? Or, because we all know that connection is one of the foundations of living and aging well. And then finally, wonder and awe, something that allows you to sort of tap into the fact that you are interconnected with the rest of humanity, or maybe like you realize how small you are in this amazing universe that we have. So what you choose may not let you tap into all seven, but when you find that thing, you're probably going to be doing more than one or two, right? Like for me, pottery is my thing. I have to be mindful because the clay can go flying off the wheel, right? Curiosity is definitely part of it. Self-compassion is part of it. It's play for me. I lose track of time. But also there's some wonder and awe because I think of the tradition of pottery that has existed for millennia and how I'm now a part of that, right? And the things that I create may exist past me for millennia, right? Like archaeologists
Right.
use
They
that as
could be a shard somebody finds somewhere, right?
exactly. And so
Who knows?
that sort of interconnectedness with this tradition is really, really exciting for me. So when you find a thing, you dabble in a bunch of things, and then when you find that one thing, you suddenly realize that you're playing with more than one of the seven attributes. It's really something that you can go back to feed yourself.
I love it. I love it. God, my brain is blowing up right now. I'm thinking of all the things that I do because so I'm learning how to shuffle dance, and that is something that yeah.
I want to learn. I'm sort of like that might be my next dabble. I'm
I,
really
I
intrigued by it.
have a really Shannon Hunt, she's known as Midlife Shuffle, I think on Instagram and on
Nice,
YouTube, and she does fantastic tutorials. She's been on the podcast. I love her. And
nice.
I'm a person who I feel like Lucille Ball or, the Elaine from Seinfeld. Like that's what I feel like when I try to dance, especially like not on the dance floor, like out, just grooving at a wedding or something like that. I just have fun when I do that. But I have PTSD from when I was an actress and I had some musical theater auditions and I'd have to go to a dance call and I'd have
Mm,
to learn choreography right away. I've always wanted to dance though.
yeah, yeah.
And it's so much fun and I feel like it's similar to the skating in the way that it does require focus. I'm
Hmm.
never going to be a professional dancer though. It's
Yep.
just for me, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I only do it when I feel like it.
Right. And I think what's really interesting about this and what like as I've been talking to people about what their avocations are, I recently was interviewed by somebody from The Guardian who she wrote a beautiful article about her being on a football team, soccer team, and she's bad at it. Like she says, I play the soccer. And as we were talking, I said something about her in passing about being an athlete. And she said, she goes, Karen, I'm not an athlete. She goes, I'm literally the worst person on the team. And I said, well, you do realize that even professional teams always has a worse person on the team. Like you get to call yourself an athlete because you have a practice of doing something athletic. That's why you get to be. And I love how dabbling and having an intentional amateurism avocation allows you to expand your own identity of yourself. So you say you're never going to be a professional dancer. That may be true, but you're still a dancer, right? Like if you have this practice of dancing, you get to add that to your identity. And also, I'm a dancer.
It's a great point. That is a
Right.
great
And I
point.
think it's really important that we do that to ourselves, especially as we
Yeah,
get older.
absolutely. The other one that I tell myself is I'm not an artist. And I saw that recently that you do some art journaling. And journaling, I have found, and I think you mentioned this as well in a blog post that you recently wrote, how useful journaling is for you. And it is for me too. I've found it to be that, but I have never been able to get into a regular practice of it until this year
Mm.
when I started doing it as art journaling and just again, doodles. I am a stick figure drawn kind of girl
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
that, but I'm playing with watercolor. Oh, what happens if you mix these? What happens if you do that? What happens if you do that? And the time flies away. There's so many possibilities for what we can do. And there's so much freedom in not giving yourself the pressure of having to be good.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, and I have my own theory about this, but I want to know what you think.
Yeah.
What is it, do you think, that keeps so many of us from giving ourselves permission to be beginners again?
Yeah. I think there's a few things, honestly. I think social media is one of it. I think that we live in a culture now where we're sort of expected to share everything that we
Mm,
do, from
mm,
everything from like what we're doing to our meal, right? Like it's sort of an expectation that we have to share. And when people share things that they're really good at online, it intimidates you about sharing what you're not good at. So, or even
mm.
trying. I think we are also living in a time where capitalism sort of runs rampant, right? And so the idea that you would be doing anything that doesn't produce a profit or doesn't contribute to society feels selfish, maybe. And then I think also there's a part of it that's just about how we're socialized as we get older. Like we think of something as play, or trying something and being bad at it as something that children do. And as we get older, we've got to be serious, right? We have careers, and we have families, and we have partners, and we have bills. Like we have these things that we're supposed to be taking care of. And so doing anything else is a waste of time because there's things that we're supposed to be doing. So I think that that's part of it. I think it's part of socialization, part capitalist patriarchy, and part just sort of social stressors that we have online that keeps us from doing it. My argument is that nobody has to know that you're doing any of these things, right? Like nobody says that you have to put it online, right? And that was actually one of the struggles of finding people to interview for this, is because there were a lot of people who I knew had these little things that they did, but they were quite quiet about it. They didn't share it
Mm.
online. And I understand the instinct now, because like pottery is one of the things that I've been doing. I have a pottery Instagram feed, mostly because there's going to come a point where I'm going to want to rent a studio for myself. And most rental places want to see your portfolio.
Oh,
Otherwise, they're like, why are you building a bomb in the studio? Like, we want to see that you're actually doing it.
wow.
So I started one, but I don't really advertise it that much. And it's very small, like as opposed to like my regular Instagram where I share that where I'm writing. But there's this sort of instinct of like, no, 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 this is for me. This isn't for anybody else. And that's a lovely feeling, right? Like I have this little private life where I do this. And it was hard to find people because they all had these little private lives. And I had to sort of find people who knew people who knew people to make introductions so I could ask them about
Yeah, I just got the book yesterday. And
it.
so I haven't been able to truly dig in yet, but I did kind of take a quick look at your intro and I looked at the seven attributes. Can I tell you how much I love that number one is curiosity?
Tell me.
I love it. I honestly, I think that curiosity, if we can lean into it, is a superpower.
Yeah,
It is the first step towards self acceptance and reinvention. Starts there.
yeah,
Starts with curiosity and awareness. And I don't think you can get aware of yourself until you get curious about yourself.
yeah. And I think it's also the basis of things like play and
Yeah.
things like connection, right? Like I think if we were, just to step away from hobbies right now, I think if we were more curious about each other, like a lot of the problems that we're having in the world would not be problems, right? Like they
Right?
would not be things. Like I think it's the root of aging well. I think it's how you get to the point where you don't fear aging. You are more curious about who is this person I'm becoming, and what would it look like to take control of what aging looks like for me and wrest it away from what society says aging is supposed to look like for me. Curiosity, I think, is the basis of joy. It's the basis of a lot of things. Creativity, like it's definitely something that I don't think that we exercise enough. And that's the beauty of having this avocation, because it allows you to exercise all of these things so that when you're out in the world and something pisses you off and it seems minor, you've already sort of exercised, like when the pottery falls apart or when you tripped
Mm-hmm.
over something on your skates. and sort of we're like, well, why does this matter so much to me? And realize, oh, well, as I'm out here in the real world and this little thing has happened, like, I know better than that. What are the repercussions here? The repercussions aren't that big. I can center myself again, right? And so you exercise all of these different attributes, but you literally, it's an exercise that allows you to go into your life a more better, focused, self-compassionate, connected, right, person who finds wonder and awe easily, right? Like, it allows you to do all of those things.
I love that. And that you're making me think about that stretch zone that you were talking about, that place between comfort and fear, right?
Yeah.
How do you personally recognize when you're in that stretch zone?
Yeah. So that was a revelation. Originally when I was going to write that chapter of the book, I was going to write go outside of your comfort zone. And I
Hmm.
was doing sort of the research about it, and I forget the name of the researcher. I'm so bad at it. It's in the book. But what she said was the comfort zone is actually a great place to be, but don't confuse it with your complacency zone. Don't confuse it to the zone that you're
Oh.
in where you're not doing anything. But your comfort zone is a wonderful place to be, because when you feel safe, that's when you can feel more daring to try other things. So for me, the comfort zone thing for me that I tried was surfing, right? Now, for me, that didn't feel terrifying because I'm from the Caribbean. I grew up on the ocean. I'm a scuba diver. So the ocean was not a terrifying place for me. Now, it was still scary because I'd never stood up on a board and like with waves. So there was a
Hmm.
little bit of that tension there, that I was doing something that I was really unfamiliar, but I wasn't worried about sharks or like that's not my thing. Now, for some other people, that's a terrifying thing. And I would recommend you don't try surfing if that's one of your terrifying things. I will never jump off of a cliff with a cord wrapped around my ankle. I don't like heights. I don't like speed. Like
Hard no.
I'm not doing right. So that's for me is like, why would I do that just to dabble? Like the world is terrifying enough. But knowing that little thing is like, okay, well, let's see if I can try this. Let's see what happens. And that sort of feeling of exhilaration, maybe nervousness, but an exhilaration, but not abject fear. That's when you know that you're doing it right, right? That sort of that anticipation thing. If you're terrified, just stop. Don't do it. Like, don't, like, it's not worth it. Karen never told you that you had to do that. That the famous person, I think was it Roosevelt, who said you should do something that terrifies you once every day. I totally don't believe that. There is enough terrifying in the world. Do not terrify yourself every day, but maybe dare yourself a little bit every day. I think that's a really important thing.
Yeah, I think you've often said that self compassion is a non negotiable. And I
Yeah.
hear this self compassionate approach to the whole thing. So I wonder, how has your understanding of that evolved over time?
Of which? Of self-compassion?
Self compassion. Yeah.
Um, I love how you sort of tied it with the comfort zone thing. I hadn't considered that, but I think that self-compassion is ultimately, I think, about curiosity in yourself and understanding what's okay and what's not okay. Like, what are the boundaries that you're willing to put up with, right? Um, so one of the ways that I've really sort of leaned into self-compassion for myself is I'm a deeply introverted person, right? Like, if given the choice between going to a party or staying home alone, I will always pick staying home alone. Now, I have a very extroverted job, right? Like, I do a lot of public speaking, and I'm on book tour right now. So like there's a lot of stuff that's going on that requires me to be with people, and I'm not a shy person. So that's not a bad thing, but I'm also very well aware that once I've done this, I need to retire. Like, I can't go to the after party. I can't do it. It's just and I'm very, very clear about that, right? Like, people make jokes about how I'm like, okay, no, I'm done, bye, right? Like, and I will literally set a boundary for it. One of my big things is if I'm at a conference, often, like, there's always a party usually at the end of the conference, and I will go as the party starts. I will make my rounds to people who are known extroverts, and then I'm in my hotel room 30 minutes after. And so when I'm gone, people are like, "Have you seen Karen?" And they're like, "Yeah, she's here somewhere." But I have gone, right? So I think, yeah, and I know that that's the only way, because if I don't do that, then I'm resentful, I'm cranky, I'm like, it's not good for anybody if I don't honor that in myself. And I think that's really what self-compassion is. It's about sort of really being curious about how you're wired, and understanding what you need to do in order to show up as the type of person that you want to show up. Like I want to show up with warmth and I want to show up with generosity. And that means that I also am very protective of my alone time. That's just one example, but I think that that's true for anything that we're doing. And I feel like as I've gotten older, I've gotten really good about that. I think as a young woman, I might have been like, no, I just got to power through.
Right.
Right. And now I'm like, yeah, I don't care. I'm going like it's best for all of us if
I'm
I
out.
if I do this exactly right.
That is one of the beautiful things about getting older, I
For
think.
sure. For sure.
So many of us, I think, do feel guilty
Mm,
for doing things just for fun and
yep.
not being productive. How do we start to dismantle that pressure to be productive all the time?
Yeah. So this is, and I always say this is sort of the woo woo part of any time I talk about this sort of thing. And it is tapped into self-compassion, right?
Hmm.
Um, if we think about the planet, right? Everything that we deal with on the planet is cyclical, right? We have seasons that, come and go. We have the moon waxes and wanes. We have tides rise and fall, waves crash to the shore, go back out. Even the way like we live, like we sleep, we wake up, we sleep, we wake up, we inhale, exhale.
Hmm.
Everything is cyclical. And
Yeah.
I feel like there's this idea that there's virtue in just going and going and going and going and going, contrary to the way that we're literally hardwired to be in a cycle. And I think that we are at our optimal best when we cycle, when we do that cyclical thing, and rest and recreation is part of that cycle, right? It's how we show up it's how we're hardwired to show up. It's our source code. We're
Yeah,
supposed
I
to,
was looking at something. Sorry to interrupt, but I was
yeah,
looking
no.
at, I'm all pointing to my guns here because I was looking at something that was like talking about the building of muscle and how important, like, you're taking the, when you do, like, when you lift weights, you're
Yeah,
literally tearing your muscles,
yeah.
and that sends your body signals to send healing.
Mm,
All the healing goodies are going to
yeah.
go there and they're going to do that, but you got to rest in
Yes, you have to
order
rest.
for that to happen. So if you just keep going and going and going, you just
You
you no
you can
recovery time.
you have to do it, right? Rest
Yeah.
and recreation are our birthright. And so when you understand that I have to have this sort of cycle in order to be at my optimal best, then it becomes part of how you gather the energy to be productive. It becomes part of how do I gather the energy to go in and work hard at my job or go in and be a great parent. And the truth of the matter is, like, if you're a focused, conscientious person, you're never going to ignore your kids. You're never going
Right.
to ignore your partner. You're not going to ignore your job. Like that's always going to be there. So working in that time for yourself is important. And also, I'm not suggesting that, okay, you're a roller skater, so you should go roller skate for an hour a day every day,
Mm-mm.
right? And if you don't, you fail. No, no, no.
Right.
Right? I'm talking about you can't wait to get on your skates. And when you've got, whether you've got an hour this week or 15 minutes, like you're like hearing yourself like, oh, I need to get back on my skates. It's not about having um, a punishing chore schedule around this. It's about finding the thing that recreates yourself and being able to go honor it and say, okay, I'm being called to do it. I'm gonna carve out a little time to do it. Now, I travel a lot. I can't get to a pottery studio every single day like I'd like to, but I'm certainly not going to beat myself up about that. It's the next time I have time, I'll go into the studio and I'll play
So,
again.
so here's a question that I have for you. Do you have like a go-to list of the things, like if you are traveling,
Mm,
that well, I can't do that, but I can do this?
I don't have a list, but I know I have things that I can do that calm me down, right? Art journaling is certainly one of them. And when I
Hmm.
travel, like even if I'm a busy traveler and I can't get to my art journal, I might take a couple of photographs that when I can get back to my art journal
Mm.
again, I've got these things to play with, right? Pottery is certainly something like after I'm sure as soon as I get back, I'm going to be like, I'm going to have 3 hours at the pottery as soon as I can because I really need to do that. I think it's important to be able to have a few things that you really love. But you know what? I'm not going to even prescribe that. If you got one thing that you love, like lean into that, right? Like lean into that. If you can't get it to it, the fact that you're dying to get to it when you can, I think is a thing. People have asked me, well, how do you stay committed to your avocation? And I'm like, it's not a question of that. Like, if it feels like a chore, then that's not your thing. Like, it should feel like I cannot wait to get back to doing this, right? Um, and if you've lost some of the skill of whatever it is, that's part of it, right? Oh gosh, I haven't been back, and so I can't do this thing. I'm not shuffling dancing like I used to, or I'm not skating as solidly as I did. And you give yourself self-compassion, go, okay, I know I was better at this a month ago. Let's figure out what that is and really sort of delight in how do you tap into that evolution. I think that's the thing that's more important, not the schedule, well, why even bother if I'm not making it 3 times a week, or why even bother because I had an injury and it took me 2 months to heal and I couldn't get back to it. Then you go back in and you start gentle again when the time is right and it feels safe, and you just capture that feeling again. That's the goal. It's not about being perfect.
Yeah. So, I mean, you mentioned that, woo. I have a little bit of a woo question for
Yeah.
you, which is, um, how do you think that the that dabbling can be an access point to, let's say, spiritual growth?
Oh, yeah. Well, um, my immediate reaction is the part with wonder and awe, right? Um, that's one of the 7 attributes. And I think that taking religiosity out of spiritual growth, right? Like sort of that idea of understanding how interconnected we are and understanding that the world is so huge, the universe is so huge, and tapping into that. I think that you won't necessarily get it with everything that you choose to dabble in, but there are certainly things that you can dabble in that may make it feel a little more accessible. So the thing when I was playing with that, the thing that I did, I'm a photographer like you, but I love portraits, portraiture. And I was really interested in what would it take to photograph the Milky Way, which was very different from what I had been doing, the kind of photography that I generally do. I will tell you, spoiler, I wasn't good at it, because it's a whole
That's
different
a
thing.
whole, yeah, we won't get
That's
into the technical
right.
on that, but that's a tricky thing to do.
It's a
Yes.
whole different thing. But also, there I was with a new friend, in the desert looking up at the sky. And that alone makes you
Yeah.
feel special and part of something that's beautiful. And you contemplate this tiny little blue rock that you're on that's hurtling through space with God knows how many other planets. Like, that's something that's really sort of humbling and also massive and just glorious and big, and that the being able to have both of those things at once, I think is really lovely. And then, like I said, with pottery, for me, the idea that I'm a part of this tradition, like that's really something, and that I'm part of this interconnected group of people. So I think that you can you can access it. My husband's a mountain biker, and so that means he's out in nature whenever he's mountain biking, and he's like taking in the seasons while he's out there, and the animals and the birds. And there's something about that that I think is very, very nurturing to our spiritual health. And I think that your spiritual, anytime you nurture your spiritual health, things have got to get better. And then if you do practice a faith, that's another way that you can access God or Allah or, the universe, whatever that is, then more's the better.
Yeah. The other thing when you were talking about surfing, my mind immediately went to paddleboarding, which is
Mm,
something that I love to do, and that I do get that sense of wonder and awe, and it is putting me right on that edge of my comfort zone because I have to, again, it's like being on the skates. I have to focus to stay up on the board.
yeah,
But man, there, Karen, there's something that happens if I've got that paddleboard under my arm, and it takes some work to get there, and I have an inflatable one, so you got to pump it up, and
right.
it's a commitment to go. But boy, the minute my feet hit the water as I'm
Mm,
walking in with that board.
mm.
Whoosh, everything, and there's something about it where I feel like I am part of.
Sure.
I'm like it's just moving me right now. I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
It's so wonderful. And
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not a paddleboarder, but I make up that it's very difficult to paddleboard in places that are hideous. Like generally speaking, you're on a large body of water that generally you're in nature, you're on the ocean, like you're doing like you're in it. And
yeah,
I remember the last time I was out with my camera in the UK, I split my time between Bath, England, and the United States. And I was in Bath and I was walking over a bridge just with my camera, and there were these two friends who were on their paddle boards that were paddling under the bridge and through the woods. And I remember thinking, how beautiful for them, right? To be on this, having this conversation. I made up that they were really good friends and they were on this paddleboard and it was silent, but for their conversation. And as they went, I managed to catch it as they walked by because I was taking like cheeky photographs of them because it was just so beautiful, sort of watching them go. And as I went, like a stork came flying low over the water and went off, and I thought, what a magical moment for these women. And I'm so lucky I got to take a photograph of it, but like actually doing it, right, must have felt so
yeah,
magical. So
yeah.
yeah, I have no doubt. And I think that that's something that I think for me, like if I were to do paddleboarding in the past or swimming, one of the things I did was a swimming practice to explore mindfulness, or even hula hooping, I would have approached all of those things as my workout, right? Like the point was to work out to stay healthy, right? To
Mm-hmm.
keep my physical health.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the idea of being able to do something like that and instead tap into something totally different, like the mindfulness, yes, it's workout, but it's also like the cadence of hearing the splash and like sort of just
Mm-hmm.
meditating and counting breaths while I do that before I breathe again. Like that's, yeah, of course my body is going to reap the benefits, but also my mind is doing some really amazing things while I do that. And so approaching these avocations with more than just, oh, I do this for my health, or I do this because I knit because um my mother knit and I just need a sweater tonight, right? Like instead of like the meditation of knitting or the meditation of decorating a cake or the feeling of flying when you're on skates or the feeling of flying when you're on aerial silks or whatever the thing is that you do, like that emotion, like that's where the healing is, right? Like that's where the joy really comes from.
Yeah. Ah, it's a beautiful thing. By the way, after reading Radiant Rebellion, which is the first time you had mentioned the hula hoops and
Yeah,
your journey to do it, because you were talking about how you were not an athlete and you
yeah.
know the team sports, and I was like, yeah, same, same, same. And the minute you mentioned hula hoop in that book, I was like, ah, I used to love hula hooping, and so I do have a hula hoop in a shopping cart online
Nice.
right now.
Is
I'm
it a
getting
real
ready
one?
to
Like it has to be a weighted one.
a
Like it has to
weighted,
be
yes,
good, yes, because
yes.
the toy ones don't work. Yeah. Perfect. I'm glad to hear it.
I'm very excited to get a hula hoop.
I can't wait to hear how it goes.
So, last question that I have for you is if somebody listening right now feels, I don't know, stuck or not even sure where to start,
Yeah.
because sometimes we don't even know what we like anymore. What do you think would be a good first step for them?
Okay, well, let's just do the shameless plug first of all. So the book in Defense of Dabbling has like 7 pages of, I think, over 250 potential dabbling activities at the very back of it. So if you buy
Nice.
the book and you flip to the back, there's everything from bouldering to twerking, literally in the book, right? As sort of inspiration, right?
I
So
love it.
you could do whatever you. So that's one thing. But we'll put that aside. Um, as you've mentioned, I'm a big journaler, and I really think that you should write it down, or at least keep a notes app of things that you see that are like, oh, that's kind of cool. And the reason that I suggest that you write it down is because, like, let's say you're at a Renaissance festival and you see a dude juggling, right? And you think, oh, that'd be really cool. I would love to learn how to juggle, and then you move on. Then that's just a fleeting thought, right? But if you
Mm-hmm.
make a note like, oh, it would be cool to learn how to juggle, just having the list of things that you thought that would be really cool. The other thing is also think about what you used to love to do as a kid. So like if you love to roller skate as a kid, right? Like that, me too. Like maybe that should go on the list. Or playing piano for me was something that you did, or writing stories, or whatever the things were that you used to do as a kid, baking with your grandmother, like whatever it might be, add that to the list and just sort of have a running list. I call it a menu in the book. And then the next time you have some free time on a weekend or something like that, or maybe you're a young parent, you have young kids, and maybe you're looking for something to do with your kids, right? Because connection is one of them. Yeah, look at your list and go, kids, we're going to learn how to juggle today. Or kids, you know what I want to do? We're going to bake a cake, but I've always wanted to do cake decorating. So we're going to go get the bags and see what we do and just play with it, right? But I think writing it down or having a record of the things that have interested you in the past, it can be really important for when the opportunities arise, that you can be like, oh, I did write down that I was into juggling, and they're having a juggle off at my church. So I'm going to go there and do that because I did say that at one point. So it's a way to sort of nudge you into it.
I love it. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Well, where can people find you and follow your work?
Well, if you go to KarenWalrond.com, my name, that will take you to a website that has links to my Substack and where to get the books and my Instagram account and all the other places that I am. So that's probably the easiest way to go.
Fantastic. And I will have links in the show notes for you. If you're driving right now, no worries. I'll have it all there for you. And if you love this conversation, well, first of all, just Karen, thank you so much for being with me.
Oh my gosh, such a pleasure. Absolute pleasure to
I
be
have
here.
to tell you, you've been on my guest wish list for a really long time.
Oh, I'm glad we made it happen.
Me too. Me too. For you watching or listening, if you love the conversation, definitely check out this new book. I'm eager to dig in and check out Radiant Rebellion. I loved that.
Thank you.
Joy and curiosity, yeah, they're fuel for growth. They're not distractions from it. And if you are ready to bring more play into your life, here's my shameless plug. Come join me for the PLAYshop. You can get on the wait list at latebloomerliving.com/play. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Share the episode with a friend, because connection, you can play with a friend, right? Maybe somebody you know needs to start dabbling again too. So until next time, bloom like you mean it, my friend.